Welcome on the mic. This is your host, Micah Cannon. Thank you for first watching this video. Before I start the video, I would like to remind you to like and subscribe. I have a little subscription goal. I'm trying to get to 1,000 by the end of the month of September, so please subscribe. But anyways, this video is going to be about the escalation of the Earl Thomas situation between him and teammate safety Chuck Clark. Now, I'm gonna give certain options, certain things that could happen, some things that could be resulting in the lack of what's the word I'm looking for, in the lack of focus in Earl Thomas. But anyhow, getting into our first little article that we have here, right here. This was written yesterday after the fight. After the fight at practice, and he also was held out of yesterday's practice as well. So as a result, he was held out of two practices. And now you know that he got released, and the Cowboys are the leading candidate for him. But reading right here, Earl Thomas, of course, he took to social media and offered an explanation on the fight. He was saying that basically what he said is that it was a heated altercation, and he had a basically a mind lapse, a mental lapse that caused him to miss a read and caused the offense to score a touchdown. And in his words, he states that he tried to calm down the situation and try and approach Chuck Clark calmly. According to Earl Thomas, he said he was really sorry. He stated on how much he was wrong and how much he thought he was wrong, and how much that could affect the team. He was basically trying to I don't want to say cover his tracks because I don't know exactly what happened, but he was trying to basically say, I'm sorry, my bad, I'm a leader on this team, and that shouldn't happen. Anyways, Earl Thomas eventually went on to share the video of the play and explained that he had made a mental error that caused a blown coverage and allowed the offense to score a touchdown. We scroll down. This is basically a little explanation on how things happened, on how observers saw the fight. So here we go. After the play, Thomas and Clark exchanged shouts, and other players needed to separate the two. Observers saw Thomas, a 7-time Pro Bowler, punch Clark unexpectedly, which escalated the confrontation. Now, that's according to a report from The Athletics. Anyhow, yes, Earl Thomas states that he tried to go with the situation calmly, but according to The Athletic and their article, they say that Earl Thomas unexpectedly punched Clark, and that's when the fight escalated. Of course, you want to believe that the 10-year veteran, the better player, the guy who's really supposed to be a de facto leader on your team, wouldn't get into a conversation over such a dumb reason. And yesterday, I can say I didn't believe that the Ravens were going to release a star safety, and in my opinion, a top 10 safety in the league, over a minor little scuffle. But once you look at the details, it's easy to see why they released him, because earlier he had a little situation with his wife, where he got caught cheating on his wife first, and then his wife had held him at gunpoint. And it seems like ever since then he's been a little bit off focus, because the organization, what I read in an earlier article, the organization, I believe it's in this article too, but the leaders actually thought it would be better if Thomas was off the team, and the organization and leaders also pointed out just the lack of effort and focus that Thomas has been giving in practice. Now, according to Thomas, this is one of his best training camps ever. Good training camp, going usual for a 10-year veteran who is still a Pro Bowler. Then these are just a little bit of contract details. Well, according to this, probably should read this first. The Ravens sent Thomas home after the scuffle Friday and made an organizational decision to keep him out of Saturday morning's practice. Yesterday was Saturday. They kept him out of that practice. Assistant coach Dave Culley said. So their assistant coach actually points out that it was an organizational decision to keep him out of Saturday morning's practice. I don't really know why they kept him out of Saturday's practice. I'm guessing, of course, it's the fight. Pretty sure it's the fight. Maybe they didn't want things to boil over once again. Maybe they had already planned to release him. Who knows? But anyhow, heading into the next part of the article, Thomas, of course, signed a 4-year contract with the Ravens last offseason worth $55 million. And it is unclear whether any of his actions will allow the team to void his guaranteed money and create salary cap relief. That is actually what happened. See, there's a small part of his contract that basically stated if he had made a bad choice that affected the team's ability to have success, basically, they could void his guaranteed money and void his contract and have salary cap relief. So basically, they could release him without giving him his money. And yeah, that's exactly what happened. They straight up released him. They're going to have their salary cap relief. So the Ravens are still going to have that good amount of money. I want to point out a situation that happened a couple of years ago with Ray Rice. The only difference is that Ray Rice, his decision impacted Ray Rice. It didn't impact the team. It wasn't a fight in training camp. It was when he was caught on video in an elevator beating up his girlfriend. And what eventually happened to Ray Rice was he was released and never played for another NFL team again. Will that happen to Earl Thomas? Probably not, because, Ray Rice wasn't a 10-year veteran and a 7-time Pro Bowler. Ray Rice was good, but Ray Rice wasn't Earl Thomas status. So I believe Earl Thomas will get signed by a team. The only difference here that I see in this situation is that Earl Thomas's decision impacts the entire team. It impacts the whole NFL. He can be signed by the Cowboys. He can be signed by my Falcons. He can be signed by the Bengals at this point. Anyhow, the Ravens, basically, summing that all up, the Ravens prove that his actions were affecting the team's ability to have success, and therefore they could void his contract and apply for salary cap relief, which they did. So basically, they don't have to pay Earl Thomas his money. Anyways, yes, they were able to void his contract. They didn't have to pay that $10 million and $55 million. They didn't have to pay his guaranteed money. They don't have to pay the contract. Usually when the team releases a player, they're responsible for paying them their money right up front. But now they don't have to do that because they voided his contract. Anyways, this is a big part of, right here, this is a very, very big part of the article. This shows that this has not been happening for only today. This has been happening for a long time. Anyways, getting into this part of the article, concerns about Thomas' fit in the Ravens locker room emerged last year when he landed on headlines for a different confrontation, with a teammate after he and defensive tackle Brandon Williams engaged in a shouting match in the wake of a loss to the Browns. So basically this states that this isn't the first time this has happened. This has happened before. And it's rare because in training camps, you do see fights. There are little scuffles. Those are out there. Those are grown men fighting for jobs. And can you blame them? No, you can't. But what's rare about this situation is when two players on the same side of the ball get in a fight. Usually it's an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman or a cornerback and a wide receiver. But right now, it's two starting safeties, I'm pretty sure, big leaders on the team fighting. That's something different. That's something that we don't really see a lot in training camp. You expect the leaders to step up and be the leaders. It's only one play. If he gives up one play, all right, mental lapse. Go to the next play. We just make the adjustment and we get back on it. Unfortunately, in this situation, that didn't happen. So maybe it has been a long time that Earl Thomas has been a problem for the Ravens locker room. Maybe this has been an ongoing problem that finally is coming up to light and that the Ravens have just had enough of because he got released today. Anyway, Earl Thomas, the 31-year-old, wrote in his Instagram post Saturday that he plans to continue working to help the team win. No, he doesn't, because he just got released from that team earlier. Pretty sure it was about at 12 o'clock that Ian Rappaport announced that Earl Thomas was going to be released. And teams such as the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers would be most interested. But anyway, he also wrote that he tried to calmly explain his frustration to Clark and built up aggression turned into me getting into it with a teammate. I don't know if he's saying Chuck Clark built it up. I don't know if he's saying that because according to this article, once again, he was the aggressor in the confrontation. He was the one who threw the unexpected punch. So apparently he's trying to make Clark look like the aggressor in the fight. But according to observers, it went a whole lot different. I don't know what he thought he was doing. Maybe he's lying. Maybe he's not. I'm not even going to get into it. Maybe it has to do with his focus off the field and all the stuff that's going on off the field. But anyways, here's the play right here. This is the play that's on the mental lapse. It's loading up. Alright, so as you can see, Earl Thomas, I believe this is him right here. Yeah, he makes that mental lapse. Then I believe Hollywood Brown goes and scores a touchdown. And evidently him and Chuck Clark got in a shouting match after that. I don't know why that's worth getting into a shouting match. It is only one missed read. Usually your leaders go, we can come out tomorrow and just go and get it again. Go and try it again. And then a little bit of background information on Chuck Clark. He was a 6th-round pick for the Ravens in 2017 and stepped into the starting role and showed leadership duties last season after Tony Jefferson, veteran safety from Oklahoma, landed on injured reserve. After an impressive run alongside Thomas in Baltimore secondary, Clark earned himself a 3-year, $15.3 million contract this offseason, and the Ravens released Tony Jefferson. So Chuck Clark, dude's not a nobody. He's really good. Led the team in tackles last season. Has a lot of room to grow, and might be one of the better safeties in the league in a couple of years. Baltimore's roster lacks established safeties behind Thomas and Clark. Anthony Levine has extensive experience as a defensive role player and special teams contributor, but hasn't been a full-time starter in his career. Safety Jordan Richards played just one defensive snap last season, and then there's Deshaun Elliott, a promising safety who joined the team as also a 6th-round pick in 2018 and has suffered serious injuries in each of his first 2 NFL seasons. So, yeah, they're not really... They're pointing out the depth. There are not really a lot of good safeties behind Earl Thomas, so I don't know how Baltimore is going to handle that situation. Earl Thomas, they don't have anybody significantly good behind him or anybody that has really, really good experience in that role. The best experienced guy to me sounds like Anthony Levine, who does have experience as a role player and special teams, but has never been a full-time starter. So I don't know how Baltimore's going to fill that roster spot, but they need to do it quickly because free agency is over. Maybe they're going to try and get a trade with somebody else because they released Earl Thomas. Anyhow, I don't know how they're going to handle that situation. Maybe Anthony Levine ends up starting. Maybe Jordan Richards ends up starting. Maybe Deshaun Elliott ends up starting. Who knows? Ravens, they also took a look at Geno Stone, the 7th-round pick of this year's draft, and they also signed undrafted safety Nigel Warrior out of Tennessee. So maybe they have a plan. Maybe a rookie is going to start in the place of Earl Thomas because he has been released. And also, no player on the roster and few across the league can match Thomas's track record of production. Of course, 3-time All-Pro, not 4-time. He's a 3-time All-Pro with a Super Bowl championship on his resume. Thomas arrived in Baltimore last year with hopes of orchestrating a triumphant second act of his career after he stuck out his middle finger at Coach Pete Carroll during the final game of his 9-year tenure with the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah, y'all remember that? He was on the carted off the field with a season-ending injury and stuck his middle finger at Coach Pete Carroll. Said he wanted to play for Dallas. That's why I believe Dallas is a top contender to get Earl Thomas, but I feel like he'd be a locker room problem. I don't really like Earl Thomas on a team just because of that. I feel like he's not focused right now. I feel like he can definitely bring a lot of production to a team, though. So, depending on how he feels about the situation, depending on what really happened, maybe he was the aggressor, maybe he wasn't. Of course, I feel myself wanting to believe Earl Thomas, considering that he's supposed to be the leader of that team, the orchestrator of the defense. I want to believe Earl Thomas wasn't the aggressor in this fight, but who knows? Scrolling down, last season, Thomas reached his 7th Pro Bowl and helped the Ravens win the AFC North. Yeah. Then they lost in the playoffs. Then he talks about his window for error, and he says it's a narrow window for error, which means he has to get it together. That means he's probably not focused, which supports what was said by some of the players, some of the leaders on the team. They say that he's had a lack of focus lately, which supports that. He does have a narrow window of error, And it was a really simple play. It was just a simple read. He let it go right in front of him, right in front of his eyes if you looked at the film. Anyhow, I have belief in Earl Thomas. I really think he can develop. He can help a team develop into a very, very good secondary, orchestrate the secondary. I like the Falcons as a fit because he has his old defensive head coach in Dan Quinn. So I really like it. But at the same time, I need Earl Thomas to get focused. Anyhow, going to Ian Rappaport. The Ravens are now releasing star safety Earl Thomas after just one season and $22 million. They are moving on following a practice altercation with a teammate. Of course, that teammate is Chuck Clark. So, yes, he has been officially released. We don't know where he's going to go, but I promise you I'm going to be right on top of that. I did release a video earlier on this. I'm sorry it had to be taken down because I want to present the most factual and most updated information and into me wanting to be a good presenter for my viewers. I wanted to basically post an updated and better version. So, going back, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope your day is going really well. Thank you for watching. Follow me on Instagram at Real Micah Cannon. Follow our podcast page at On the Mic Podcast _. Anyways, thanks for watching. Have a great day. And this is all for On the Mic today.